Steele, thank you so much for coming on the Winner's Paradigm podcast, brother. I've been following you for a little bit and interacting with you on Instagram, and I love what you're doing. So I felt like it'd be perfect, to have your story on here. Come on here, man. I'm a big fan of you, brother. You're an amazing dude. So before I get ahead of myself, would you mind giving us a brief intro, who you are, what you're passionate about today, brother?
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. Really means a lot. Likewise, I've been keeping up with you. See, you're killing the game. Does not surprise me whatsoever. Um, but yeah, my name's Steele. I live in the Columbus, Ohio area. So I know your boy Kyle. We're kind of close. We're in the same state, right? But I am a production manager at ServPro. Our ownership owns 13 franchises here throughout Ohio. I have a team of about 20 people under me, and I run the fire division. So all the fire jobs we have, cleaning jobs, etc., our team takes care of. Have our own warehouse here, 15,000 square feet. And then on top of that, man, I'm really into the personal development side of things. So that takes up a lot of my time, as well as being a new father of a 4-month-old. So it's a great time, that's for sure.
Absolutely, brother. And before we'll talk about business, and then we'll talk about the family as well. But I think that's what's amazing about you as well, brother, is you have a lot going on. You mentioned it, the self-development first. So let's start there. So for you, how important is it, especially being in a leadership position, having people under you, to stay consistent with your own self-development first?
Yeah, so I always like to say you can't lead others if you can't lead yourself, right? If you don't have your life together, how do you expect the people that are working with and for you to do the same? And it's kind of life experience, right? I've had managers, bosses in the past that I look at them, I'm like, why am I listening to this person? They can't even take care of themselves. They show up late. They can't keep promises to themselves, let alone their team. And I've kind of taken that to heart, man. In every aspect of my life. And that goes to family as well. I obviously want to lead the family in the same matter there. So I just think it's very important to take care of yourself, keep the promises that you make to yourself, discipline, and go from there. I mean, I know I wouldn't want to be working for someone that can't take care of themselves, essentially.
Brother, I love that so much. And it's a sad truth. It's not something that, we say to say. And it's funny is because I think about it as men, and just how we're wired. And I come from the sales industry, and I had a sales manager who was a big dude, overweight guy, and very cool dude, very soft spoken in that. But it was just like every single time we're in the room with him, he didn't get the respect he deserved. And number two, it was like, oh, they made him a manager. It's because he wasn't good. And I was just like, damn, So it's like, the fact is like people would say that, and then man started losing weight, and then people started gaining respect from him. Was, hey, this man's putting in work. But the sad truth is like, it didn't matter how good he was. He didn't have the results to replicate. And that was something I realized from my life as well, especially when it went into the leadership part, I was my own boss in the Marine Corps, and I was in charge with 200 people and running operations and training department. And I thought, translating that to the civilian sector, oh yeah, this is going to work. And my own leadership took a hit because it was just that pride coming in the way of, hey, I got to reestablish myself. And then even working at other places, getting into other leadership positions before I started my own business. And it was really the reoccurring theme is like, self-development's huge. So I love that you said that, because if you're not evolving, you're dying. And ultimately it's like, we have so many hats that we need to do. We have so many people that we need to take care of, that it makes 100% sense. If we're not all in, we're not invested on ourselves, how could we do it to anybody else? So for you, brother, you have a lot going on. How do you prioritize, number one? And two, how do you show up fully present within all those moments?
Yeah, so I'm sure a lot of people listening to this have heard of Andy Frisella, and maybe a lot of you keep up with him, but he has what he calls the power list, right? Normally about 3 to 5 things you write down on a daily basis that you need, or it's your top priority essentially. And I've kind of taken that and ran with that. I have, sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's up to 7 or 10 things that need to get done in that day. That's not just professionally, that's personally and, relationship wise, family, etc. Um, but I sticked with it, man. It all started with 75 hard for me. Ever since then, the discipline in my life has gone uh, haywire, man. Like I thought I was a disciplined person before, but after I started and finished 75 hard, it's just gone exponentially higher in regards to how my life is and discipline. So I make sure no matter what, if it's 11 o'clock at night and I haven't checked off all those boxes, it's getting done. But thankfully, with my discipline, I don't let that happen to where it's 11 o'clock at night and I haven't done it. It gets done. The rest, once I get that checked off the list, I go farther, other things done, make sure everything's right with my team, family, etc. But that's kind of what I stick with as a power list, and just make sure every single day, every box has been checked off.
I love that so much, brother, and that's really where I'm at too. Is when Andy's talking about it, and he says like the power 5 or power 3, and for me, I did it to the 3 every single day. I changed, and I know some people get upset with me, is I don't say the I get to anymore. I just say I do. So even if it doesn't make grammatically sense, I train myself to think a certain way. To I do workouts daily. I do the work to show up and be fully present with the family. I do take care of my body every single day. And it's like those 3 things in conjunction is like perfect example. You said, you don't go to sleep until those things get done. So yesterday, wanted to get a workout in the morning. The little ones aren't feeling good. They wanted to cuddle all morning. And that's what it was, So it was funny. It's like old me would have been like, oh, I can't fucking work. I can't do this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm upset and I'm stirred up in all these emotions versus being like, hey, this is only going to happen once. They're only going to be this age one time. 2, when we're sick, we like to be coddled as much as we want to be tough guys or whatever. It feels nice, So that was my morning yesterday, and it was funny because I didn't go to the gym and I was going to do legs, and then like an idea hit me, and I was like, well, I've been doing kettlebells, and that was something that got my mobility back after not being able to squat for 5 years. And just really having limitations and believing into that. So yesterday, literally, it was like 8:30 at night, and 9, I started finishing my workout, and I started doing just kettlebells. I'm doing like 100 deadlifts, 100 squats, and it was funny because I went from exactly what you're talking about of, oh, I can't get this done. Oh, here's the excuses. I could easily quit, to building that. And I think that's the amazing thing about 75 hard is when you do something like that, you get to be able to see, hey, it's all these things, it's a mindset, it's a discipline thing. For you, brother, you're very disciplined in your practice. You mentioned it with the 75 hard, with being a leader, with leading your family as well. So for you, when it comes to the discipline factor, brother, how important is it for you to teach your own people, hey, when you stick to the regimen, you stick to the plan, this is how life can change for you?
Yeah, it's very important, and especially nowadays, it's very hard to find people to not only follow that but agree with you and actually implement it. I am lucky; my team is awesome here, and at least weekly, I have the discussions about personally. Right? Obviously, I want them to show up here, but if they're not taking care of their personal lives, they're not going to show up 100% here at work. Um, so I make sure that I explain how I do things. I know not everyone's going to agree with it or do it the exact same way, but I'm straight up honest with my team. Hey, this is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing it. You might not agree with it, but it's helped me, and hopefully it helps you. Um, and I even share videos. I have a mentor, Ben Newman. I'm in his Uncommon Live group, and we do
Awesome.
3 to 4 live calls, right? And he does videos, sends out a Monday Ignition every Monday. He tells us, hey, send it to your team. If you have a team, send it to your team. That's what I do. It's a 5-minute video and just kind of gets you fired up for the week, but also he instills, the importance of discipline and kind of the things we've already mentioned here, and just stuff like that. I just share what I'm learning from my mentors. I share with them. It's free mentorship for them, not only from myself, but from my mentor. So that's kind of how I get my team on board with that. Like I said, you're not going to get everyone 100% on board all the time, but my team's great. And I do think they enjoy it. It's different. I'm sure not that many managers or owners do that.
No, that is awesome, brother. And I think the better point that you're making right here is right now there's a lot of do as I say, not do as I do, and you're doing it and then showing it. Whether if it's hey, watch this video and it's 5 minutes, and then your guys are like, oh, I don't want to come on board. I don't want to watch no stupid woo woo video, and then you're over here talking, and they're like, man, what is Steele doing? Like, why does he come with this different energy? What's working for him that's not working for me? And I love that, because a lot of people don't see it until that compound effect. And I literally just talked about this on my story. And then I had a podcast interview this morning. And it was that same concept, of when you do the work, everybody around you gains from it. When you suffer a little bit, everybody gains from it because they're going to see, oh, shoot, what is Steele doing that's making him be better? He's a present father, present husband. He talks about showing up, number one, in being the best you can be here, but doing it within your personal life, like you said, because there's a lot of leaders that are like, oh, handle that at your own time. And you're like, how can I handle this at my own time if it's bothering me right now? So I love that you mentioned that, brother, because that's something that people don't do, especially when it comes to leadership. Is like so many leaders want to talk, but they don't want to back it up with those results. And then they get upset as, hey, why isn't my team buying into my process? And what they really realize is like it was their foundation from the beginning that they didn't lead their guys in the right direction.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's like you said, people are going to be watching you, whether you know it or not, and you got to be able to take those actions. You got to back up what you're saying, and people aren't stupid. If you're sitting there asking them to do something or telling them to do something, and they don't see you doing that or taking those actions you're asking of them, they're not going to do it. I wouldn't. Well, nowadays, yes, I would. But back, thinking about back in the day, my mentality, I'm not going to do something if my leaders ask me to do it and they don't do it themselves. If someone's telling me to take care of my body, but they're 300 pounds, I'm not going to listen to them. Like what? It's kind of the 100%. Same thing, and it relates in every aspect of life, essentially.
I love that. And you mentioned every aspect of life. I've known that as a father and a husband as well. It's like, if we can't stick to our word, if we can't do the hard things, like our kids aren't going to believe it. Our spouse isn't going to believe it. And that's something I just learned. I did a 10-day fast, and like I literally asked my wife after I got done with the fast, hey, did you think I would do it? She's like, honestly, no. And I'm like, what do you mean no? Well, you've never challenged yourself with something like this. And I didn't know if you're going to back out of it. And I'm like, well, that's good insight. Like in my head, I was never going to quit, but it was funny because it's like, even the people around you, you're going to amaze with the way that you come to life, with how present you are, with the mindset that's changing to where I used to be a complete asshole about it and be like I said, oh, I need to do this versus like, I do this and just show up differently with a different energy. So for you, brother, we're talking presence now with the family, with the 4-month-old, and really making sure that you're the best father, husband you can be first before anything else. What do you do that keeps you locked in? And number two, how are you able to stay so consistent at doing that, even in those tough times, like we said?
Yeah. So I make sure I'm 100% present no matter where I'm at, right? So if I'm at home, I'm present with my wife, with my kids, friends, whatever it is. If I'm at work, I'm 100% focused on the task at hand. If I'm working out, I'm 100% there working out, not worried about everything else that's going on in life. So I just stay present. I try not jumping on my phone as hard as it is nowadays, especially with how much business and stuff comes through that phone. I really try putting it to the side, really enjoying my 4-month-old daughter growing up. Having those important discussions with my wife. I just try staying present in every situation I'm in, especially with family. When I get home from the day, hey, put everything else aside. Let's focus on this for the couple hours I have until we go to bed. And that kind of works best for me. I do, like I said, I'll catch myself picking up my phone just like everyone else, but every time I pick it up, now my mind clicks and it's like, all right, put that thing back down. It can wait. So just staying consistent with that, staying disciplined with it. It's probably one of the hardest things, to be honest with you. It's easy for me to wake up every morning to work out now. It's easy for me to come to work with the right mindset. This damn phone, it's the hardest thing to stay away from. Especially when you're just sitting around, whether you're watching TV, eating dinner with the family. That's probably the hardest thing for me right now, is as silly as that sounds. So it's a work in progress, but that's been working for me.
I love that, brother, and thank you for sharing that, because that's something I'm going through right now too. To where when the wife's home, she's been getting home early, depending what day, and I notice like I have hours, and sometimes it's, hey, she's on her phone a little bit, I can go on my phone, but to cut it off or to put the phone down and have that meaningful conversation. And that's one thing that we learned was like at dinner time, phones don't come out unless it's an emergency. We made a new rule where it's like, don't even put your phone on the table, because it's going to be a distraction. And that's me, it's like, oh, let me take a picture. Let me do this. And then I take a picture and then my ADHD kicks in. And then I'm over here talking about something else and Googling shit. And then all of a sudden I'm down a different loophole. So not even putting the phone there makes it better for me. So I love that you said that, because people don't think about it, of the use that we have. And you also mentioned, having your physical fitness dialed in to where you're like, oh, that's just something I do. I work out so I feel good and I show up to work. So for you, brother, what's working when it comes to the physical fitness and nutrition aspect that allows you to continually just have that compounding effect day after day?
Yeah, so I've been into sports growing up my whole life, so I've always been physically active. When I was done with football in college, I stuck with the workout regimen. Granted, then that might be 3 to 4 days a week, right? In some way, but I want to say it again. Once I did 75 hard last year, I started January 1st last year. Ever since I've done that, physically wise, I need it for my mentality. I realize that, because the days I wouldn't work out, I just wasn't there 100%. I could tell the difference. You driving to work, I'd be like, man, I should have worked out this morning. Ever since last year, January 1st, I haven't missed a day of doing something physically active, whether it's cardio, working out, weights, whatever. I have to do it, or else I'm not there 100%. And I love that now. Like it's just part of my life. If I don't do it, I'm not the same person. I'm just not. And the same with nutrition. Obviously, nutrition is even more important than being physically active. And I've realized, when I'd eat like shit, I felt like shit. When I fuel my body with the right things, there's no stopping me. And that's my mentality. Fuel the body, fuel the mind, then you're unstoppable.
Oh, again, brother, you hit it with those amazing pain points. I realized the same thing. I failed 75 hard because I can't drink the gallon of water. So working on that, I got bladder issues from the military, but I thought that was gone. So I'm over here drinking, pounding the water, and then I'm like, fuck, dude, now I'm running into this bigger issue of I'm fine when I'm home, but if I go outside of home, bad deal. So it was funny because like the workouts is easy for me. I could do the workouts twice a day. I didn't know the second part, and I was actually on when somebody was like, yeah, one of the workouts you can do is stretching. And I'm like, okay, cool. Because for me, I got all these physical injuries to where I used to make excuses about it. And it's funny because you mentioned that, like, mentally, you're not the same if you don't work out every day. I'm the same way, brother. Like, if I'm not up early every day, I'm not doing some push-ups or push-ups before I do a podcast interview, or burpees before I do the podcast interview with you, I'm not the same person. Like, it's just completely different energy. I'm like mowing through life, just like, whatever. I feel like I'm more going on my phone or just not coming with that same energy, especially when I'm talking to clients. Like, I'm just like, man, whatever. Versus normally I'm like, hey, bro, like, you either want the results and you want to be focused on who you admire, or we don't want that. I'm like, hey, you choose what you want, and it's like the energy levels. And then two, and then I bet you can attest to it, like the more consistent you are, everybody notices that about you. Hey, did you get your workout in today? So for me, I was the drinker, and then going around family, it's the, hey, did you get your workout in today? Oh yeah, I was up at 3. Damn, you're up at 3 getting a workout in? How do you do it? And you're like, well, I just do it. And then people commenting on my stuff like, you're saying you barely sleep 4 or 5 hours, 3 hours. I'm like, hey, sometimes it's like that. Like, you'll figure it out. Two, I bet you can attest to it too. Is like you have a 4 month old. You're not getting a lot of sleep every single night unless you're like, hey, wife, you're taking care of the daughter and I'm going to get some sleep. It's like it doesn't work that way. So that's why I admire parents more, especially with little ones, because it's like you get the not sleeping and still being able to figure it out, getting the work done, getting the workouts in, even though you're like, man, I could easily complain about this issue and make it a big deal. Like people who don't have kids, and then they're saying, oh, yeah, it's so difficult. And you're like, man, we have all these obstacles and we still show up as that best version of ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're not 100% not showing up for your family, friends, daughter, wife, team out there, your life isn't the best it can be. And I know I'm striving to be the best I can be every single day. And if I don't show up 100% in every aspect of my life, like you said earlier, if you're not growing, you're dying. And that's how I look at it. If I'm not there 100% in every aspect of my life, then I'm dying. I'm not getting better. And that's kind of the journey I'm on is, striving to be your best self. It's a never ending journey. Just because you had a good day yesterday doesn't mean you can take the next day off. Strive to get better every single day or you're not living. You're not living a good life, I should say.
Man, I love that again. And that was something I posted last week. Was it was my birthday and then the wife's birthday, and I was talking about just because it's your birthday doesn't mean you skip a workout, doesn't mean you skip your nutrition. And it was like, yeah, I ate clean 2 meals, and then I had the one meal of I had some chicken wings, and it was like, all right, that was good. I deserved it. I felt like shit after, so I made sure I did some push-ups and got moving a little bit, and then the next day hit it harder and made sure that I made up for that of eating that stuff. So it was funny because I was posting that and people were like, you still keep going. I'm like, yeah, every day you can do a little bit of something, even the days you don't want to, feeling terrible, not feeling well, you still got to get your work in and then show up as that best version of yourself. And two, it's like, you're not going to just go through the workout and then not feel good after. You're going to feel a little bit better. If not, then we could talk about what workouts are fixing something that's more on your level. So I love that you said that, brother, because it's something people don't think about, especially when we look at the overall scheme of things. And it's why we kind of get back into those mental loop, those limiting beliefs and so forth. So I'll wrap it up with the last question here, brother. What would you say to the previous version of ourselves? We don't know where to start, we just want to align ourselves with our definition of success.
Man, I tell my team this all the time. Start taking action. Everyone wants something in their life. You look at someone and say, I wish I was them, or it must be nice. I hate that phrase. That's the worst thing I hate hearing is must be nice. And I used to be those people, one of those people, see that nice car, see the nice house, man, must be nice. Not going to be me, I don't have that kind of job, or, they grew up with that money. To my old self, I just wish I would have taken action earlier. Um, you know, you live and you learn. But I always think now, like, what could have been if I started this journey 5 years ago? Where would I be right now?
Mhm.
So don't wait until tomorrow. Don't wait for a stupid New Year's resolution. Start today. Don't wait till 2025. Don't wait until in April I'm going to get ready for that vacation I have in June. No, start right now. Whatever your goals are, they're just getting farther away. The more you put them off, the farther those goals are away. And you might not reach any of those goals the farther you push them out. If you start right now, most likely you're going to get anything you want. And I wish I would have had that mentality years ago, because who knows where I'd be right now.
I love that, brother. And that's something that I'm realizing lately is that's been my thing. The past 2 years is taking massive action. But when you meet somebody who's mentally on that same wavelength you are now, where they're younger than you, and you're like, man, like I met this guy who's like 21, just locked and loaded, shredded, works out every day, nutrition's on point, doesn't party. And I'm like, if that was me back then, I'd be a lot further. But I needed to take a little more time and develop before I could be there. So it's like we come with a different energy and we're laughing and we're being good friends with that person. But you're like, man, you see yourself because you're like, wow, they got it young. we could have done it then. But anyway, we're taking action. We're doing what we need to do. And that's another thing that irritates me with people is, oh, I can start working out Monday. I can do this then. And it's like, man, I've done the same thing, but there is no tomorrow. And two, it's like, if that's the way you want to live, you can't be upset with the results you have or with the everything that comes back with it, especially how you're saying the must be nice, like people saying those things or whatever. You literally have to change that for yourself. It's like I had to change the way I thought about people who came for money, because I would see the people who are ungrateful and think that's the whole all the people versus the ones who, had the handouts, but they got the help that they needed and they became successful, and that's what their parents ultimately wanted to do for them. So when I was thinking about it for like, hey, what am I going to do for my kids? It was the same thing that came up. It was like, well, your kids are going to be those kids people are calling out because they got the help that you wish you had. And it's like, well, isn't that the goal? Like, why are we calling those people out if they're squared away? If they're not squared away, that's an issue. We can talk that. But it's like, if we're talking about giving the same thing, then why are we holding on to old limiting beliefs as that?
Yeah, and we're recording this on January 11th, right? How many people have already thrown their New Year's resolution in the trash? I guarantee it's over 50%. And then when it comes into February, you're probably at 80, 90% people are like, maybe next year, or it's just not for me. And I hate New Year's resolutions. Even though I started 75 hard on January 1st last year, that wasn't a New Year's resolution. That was just, I decided to take action, right? Didn't call it a New Year's resolution because 5% of people, if that, I bet, obviously I don't know this, I'm just guessing, but I guarantee it, 5% of people stick to that New Year's resolution. Everyone else by now, halfway through the month, has already thrown that in the trash. And, but it's a perfect time of year. Even if you did go whatever goal it was you missed, start back up right now. Whenever you're listening to this or watching this, start back up right now. Don't wait until next year. Take action. You won't regret it. I promise you, you won't regret taking action. It might be hard at first, but I tell you what, it gets easier in regards to some of the things. Life is never going to be easy, but the actions that or the places you want to be, the actions get easier as you go, as you build momentum. Momentum is a real thing. It's not just something in sports. I'm telling you what, life momentum is a real thing. If you don't believe me, start taking action today and see where you're at next month.
I love that you said that because that's something people don't understand. And I used to be the same way. I hated New Year's resolutions, but I got challenged. So I said that, and I was like, I want all these New Year's resolution people to be out the gym already because I'm tired of it being packed. And when my friends said, hey, how are you going to be a leader and teach people on mindset, yet bash on them for trying? And I'm like, all right, and then it hit me as last year I put a New Year's resolution on purpose. And I was like, I'm going to get in the best shape of my life. Got 95% to there. Reason why is the six pack didn't pop in because I changed the goal at the end of the year was, hey, either get a six pack or get a Taylor Swift tattoo. And then because I'm not a fan of Taylor Swift, so it's funny there. But I was going to stick to that and I would have had that goal. But then at the end, here goes my thoughts. Hey, let's do something harder. I love to eat. Why don't we go 10 days without eating? And it went into that. And it was like, well, when I looked at it, it's like, yeah, I failed because I didn't get in the best shape of my life, but I didn't intentionally because I understood that this was going to make me a better man, a better husband than sticking to that goal, which honestly, now that I can have humility and I'm getting this tattoo, like it is what it is. I'm laughing about it because I chose my own poison. I could have easily done it. I could easily been over the ego and so forth, but I was like, I needed to teach myself a better lesson. And two, to prove, if you do have that New Year's resolution, if you make it a lifestyle change, a daily change, like you said, it's that compounding interest. It's that wins that come with that momentum. So I really appreciate you, brother. I know I definitely love to have you on for a second time in the future. Where can people find you, man, if they want to keep up with you?
Yeah, mostly Instagram, just Steele Gaumer, my name. I'm pretty active on there now, but to be honest with you, that's about the only place I'm at. And that does help me stay off my phone a little more, like the conversation a little bit ago. But Instagram, definitely the best way. That's how you and I met, obviously. And
Yes,
and once again, man, I would love to be on here a second time. Appreciate the conversation. Appreciate you having me on, and I know we'll stay connected. And it's
Yes.
always nice meeting and talking with like-minded people, just because there's not a whole lot of it, or a whole lot of us, and hopefully anyone listening to this is on that journey. And speaking for myself, reach out to me. I'm always happy to meet like-minded people and love the conversation. So thanks again. And yeah, hopefully you'll have me on again.
Yes, sir. No, definitely we'll have you on in the future and we'll talk about progress then and anything new, brother. So thank you again, brother. It was an honor.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.